if your brand, which is the image that comes to a person's mind and the emotional attachment that they have to that image, if you want to begin to craft that brand and control people's image of you, then if that is a machine that works behind the scene 24 hours a day, then the oil that keeps that machine going is your core values.
Yeah.
So you have to ask yourself, okay, what do I really value? Do I value respect? Do I value love? Do I value honesty and transparency? Are those the intangible things that I value?
Yeah.
Because that will influence not only how you show up,
Yep.
but how you respond to people's approach
Yeah.
or people's ask from you. And if that acts is sexually, your core values that you set a standard for
Will
will
step
drive
in.
your response.
Your decision making.
So freedom, sexual freedom, and I use that word freedom, right? Sexual freedom is not your ability to say yes to all advancements. It's your ability to say no.
Oh, my
And that
God.
is true freedom.
That's powerful. That's powerful.
Yeah, let's ask this question one more time. What is the define a narcissist?
Okay. So that's a person who engages in relationships that they do not plan to contribute. And they engage in relationship only for selfish gain.
That's selfishness, right?
Yes.
There.
That's
So
selfishness, for sure.
narcissism takes selfishness and puts it on steroids. Because babies are selfish,
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
right? They're narcissistic. They want everything for themselves, and they don't care whether you're tired or whatever. But as you mature out of that, and you develop this ecosystem, social ecosystem that you're contributing to.
Yeah.
A narcissist will never contribute to the health of a relationship.
Yes.
That's
they will
good.
never.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
all about them, what I can get from you. Forget about your needs. Forget about your desires. Forget about your opinion. This is what I need from you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, and they always have to be at the center. A narcissistic always has to be the center of attention.
100%.
Yeah.
It's a deep insecurity, you
Yeah.
know, and when you have a deep insecurity, that narcissist is afraid to hit that point. So they create narratives that allow them to have this image of other people. So they create these narratives, and they have to stick by that narrative. You know, so that narrative, they call it grandiose. You know, so they see themselves as high and, you know, in certain ways, but that's the story that they tell themselves.
Pride is the opposite end of insecurity. So when you have a person that's proud and they have this outward display of being powerful, knowledgeable, it's actually stemming from insecurity.
Yeah.
And
Definitely.
along with that, there's a twin, and the twin is imposter syndrome. So those are two twins. You know, and one is a sense of powerlessness,
Yeah.
and the other is a sense of false power.
Imposter syndrome. Give us some more insight, because as counselors, therapists, we deal with it all the time, and a lot of folk don't actually know how to identify when they're having an experience of being overwhelmed by imposter syndrome.
Well, because people lack personal integrity. So personal integrity simply means that I don't lie to myself. And unless you make the unconscious conscious, the unconscious will continue to control your life, and you will call it destiny, and this is as good as it gets. So you have to, that's why therapy is important, because you're making the unconscious conscious.
Right.
So with a narcissist and with imposter syndrome, like they travel as twins, one says, the imposter syndrome says, I'm here, I've accomplished these great things. And usually imposter syndrome shows up with high achievers. So with a high achiever, then they're going to say, oh, this is luck, or I had to work really hard. And they refuse to say that, I'm gifted enough.
Right.
So an imposter syndrome will say, I'm not enough.
Right.
But a person who shows up and knows they may not be good at everything, but they're good at that, they own what they're good at.
Yeah.
They own what they're good at. And they show up and they own the space that they're in.
Yeah.
Someone with imposter syndrome never owns that space.
Yeah.
They're often second guessed. They show up, they feel like they're a fraud. They feel like if people really pulls back the layer, they're not going to be seen. Yeah, they're not going to be seen as this awesome, powerful individual that they are.
They're not authentic.
Right. So they're going to overwork. They're going to overachieve. They get mixed up between perfection and excellence. So they get those two mixed up. So everything has to be perfect all the time. And they just work themselves into a frenzy. But it's the contributing factors is unconscious because maybe they grew up in an environment that nothing they did was good enough.
Right.
So they have to deal with that. There could be a number of things, like they get more degrees.
Yeah.
I had to ask myself the question, how many more degrees do you need? I mean, you were already successful.
Right.
In your 20s.
In professional
So
student.
now that I'm 21.
Still 21.
Yeah, because if you want to come to this lobster
Lobster.
dinner, yeah, I'm 21. But, a lot of high achievers, they show up, they don't own their space because they feel as if someone finds them out, they'll be viewed as a fraud. And they work. Everything is working for something rather than being.
Yeah.
So we do more
Yeah.
because we want to be more.
Yeah.
So with a person that suffers from imposter syndrome, the work that they have to do is self-love, self-approval.
They're never satisfied with themselves. And not only that, but it seems as if whatever they get, they never feel like they deserve it.
Right.
Or they haven't accomplished enough.
Yeah.
Like you get high achievers and you ask them, how many certifications do you need? How many more certifications?
Yeah.
You're 1,000 years old. How many more certifications? At some point, you got to know that you're good. Yeah. You're really good.
Yeah.
But they keep getting more certifications, more degrees. I mean, you look at some of the most accomplished individuals, and they've dropped out of college and they dropped out of high school. You look at people like Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, Steve Jobs. You look at these high achievers, and they knew that they weren't good at everything, but they were good at something.
Yes.
And what happens is they don't give that personal power away. So usually they ignore people when they say, oh, they're arrogant. I don't have problems with people calling me arrogant. I have problems with them wanting me to lie about being as good as I am at something.
Yeah.
So I may not be good as a dancer, but I'm darn good at what I do.
Right.
Yeah.
I got the receipts.
Yeah.
And someone with the imposter syndrome will have the receipts and still not be satisfied with, listen, you are the GOAT. Yeah. You're the greatest of all time. Yeah, but...
Yeah.
And they're satisfied. They're not satisfied with themselves. And because they're not satisfied with themselves, they can never be satisfied in their accomplishments.
They don't know there's a difference between aspirations. So, aspiration should be a part of an evolutionary process.
Yeah.
Aspiration should not be a part of you wanting someone to approve, affirm, and validate who you are.
Right.
Because once you reach that point, then you've already given away your personal power. So I always say, yeah, you should have aspirations. I have aspirations. But it's attached to something that is very real and very tangible.
Yeah.
And that's my evolutionary process. So I want to compete with the next best version of myself.
Yeah.
And that's defined, that's self-defined. What is the next best version of myself? And which is different from just having blanket aspirations because you want to prove to the world.
Yeah.
Or you want to cover up what you really feel about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the insecurity. And I think also people feel guilty sometimes.
Yeah.
People feel guilty about being so gifted and so talented that they figure that they dumb down to fit in, to blend in.
100%.
And you see that a lot of times with leaders. They want to be liked. You know, I tell my clients, you have two choices: to be liked or to be respected. Choose one.
Respect me. Sure.
So if you're liked, you may not be respected. If you're respected, you might not be liked.
Right.
But if you're respected, whether people like you or not, they'll still follow.
Yeah.
But if you're liked, they may not respect you and they may not follow.
And they will disrespect you as soon as you do something that causes them not to like you. So
So you're never gonna you're not gonna never gonna have everybody that likes you, because not everybody likes themselves.
yeah, that's
So
for sure.
you got to know where you and I give you permission. I actually give you permission not to like me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm fine with it because
Yeah.
I know where I end and where you begin.
Right.
So I can't control you.
Right.
I can only control me.
Yep.
So I'm not trying to control you.
Just like we give permission for other people not to like us, we also give ourselves permission to not like other people.
And it's projection, isn't it?
That's
When
right.
a whole bunch, when people say, I don't like this person, I don't like that, well, do you like yourself?
Right.
Mind your own
100%.
business.
Definitely.
Your business is, do you like yourself?
Right.
You
Yeah,
know,
we spend
and
way too much
people
time caring.
project self-hatred
Yeah.
onto others. We talk about microaggression, and that people demonstrate towards others. But the highest form of aggression is to ignore yourself. That's the highest form of aggression. To ignore yourself, to not pay attention to yourself, to hate yourself, to give away your personal power.
Yeah.
That's aggression right there.
Yeah.
To stay in the realm of familiarity. Familiarity is where your dreams go to die.
Right.
So, going back to that evolutionary process and growing, in the previous conversation that we had, in the previous segment, we were talking about, how when you have a marriage and one person leaves the presence of the other, when they come back, they're a different person. They're not the same person.
Yeah.
You haven't had that shared experience.
Yeah.
So we have to give our spouses permission to grow, to explore who they become or they're becoming. And that's where the adventure is in a relationship. And I think if we're talking about reset, we need to, go back to the dating where everything was an adventure, where everything was discovery.
Yeah.
And go back to that, hit that reset button to start discovering who your spouse is all over again.
Yeah.
And even who your parents are.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we go back to the last time we were in our parents' house at 17, 18, 19, 20, where we didn't like them telling us what to do. And we secretly, was like, as soon as they woke up, you're still conscious, you're still around. If you were in here, I have some freedom. And then when you get older, you appreciate those checks and balances.
Yeah.
But
Guidance.
a lot of times we go back to the last time we were living together collectively as a family. So when you get together in the family unit, if the last time you were with that family, guess what? That's how your parents are going to treat you. That's how your siblings are going to treat you. But we have to give one another permission to get involved in this evolutionary process. And what we owe the relationship with that person is to discover who they are in the present tense and not in the past.
That brings me to actually my next question for you. How did you reset in your singleness? What are the strategies that you had to how did you evolve from singleness at the age beyond 40 and evolve.
Okay, you're invited to the party now.
I'm going to continue to be invited and reinvited this whole show. But how did you go from singleness and evolve into marriage? So what steps did you have to take for all the people who are single? They've been single for a while. They were used to being single. They got their stuff in order. How do you now position yourself to be married?
It's fantastic because you're bringing 100% of this awesome person to the table. You're not expecting anybody to fix you. You're not expecting anybody to make your life work. You bring your own party, you bring your own happiness, you bring your own joy, and you invite a person to be a part of that. And then you find out, okay, where are you living? And, you can invite me to be a part of that. And, as a woman, the scripture talks about being a helpmeet. We think it says helpmate. It says helpmeet. So what realm am I meeting you in? What station are you in? What status do you have? And I have to agree to meet there. Or I agree, I'm not meeting you there. Meet me in the middle. There's a song that says, meet me in the middle. So let's meet in the middle so that we can determine, okay, what's our station? What's our status? What's our realm? How are we going to show up together?
Yeah.
But always remember that this is just 1/12 of your existence.
Yes.
Because your spouse has another 11 that you don't get to contribute to.
That's amazing.
And we're here and we're developing this awesome ecosystem.
Yeah.
Which is marriage, which is only 1 out of 12 aspects of, how you show up in the world.
So,
and you're responsible for the other 11. And I think this is where a lot of marriages go AWire. Where, you're married 20 years, 30 years, and then you end up getting a divorce. And the divorce may not be because of domestic violence. You actually grow out of one another. But the marriage never went to the next level. So you had this evolutionary process on all of the other areas of your life, except in the area of marriage. So now, somebody has grown and evolved, and the other person hasn't grown and evolved, and now there's this resentment, and people start saying stupid things like, you changed. I hope so. I hope so. You didn't change, but I changed. I grew.
That's the problem, right?
So, now it still can work. Because a lot of people think, well, my spouse has to grow. No, they don't. If they choose, they don't want to grow. But do you accept them?
For where they are.
For where they are. It's not saying that you have to remain stuck, but you could still show the love.
Well, the whole idea of reset is connected to change. You only, you're not necessarily trying to get back to the original position. You're trying to get to a place where you adjust to a new thermostat.
A new normal.
Yeah. And the well, let's say temperature instead of because if you're going higher in temperature, now you're resetting to go to a place that you have never actually been before.
And the adjustment, I love that. I love that as a metaphor because the adjustment is based on season. So you look at the air condition, it creates an environment that is accommodating outside seasonal temperatures.
Right.
So it's an accommodation of these shifts that are going on. And you look at nature changes every 3 months. Every
Reset.
3 months.
Reset.
So every 3 months, we have to hit a hard reset. We have to change our clothing. We have to, change what we do because nature is saying we're changing.
Yeah.
And each season, there's a different responsibility, a different response, a different assignment for nature. And we respond differently. Likewise, in any relationship, every relationship goes through seasons. Like a winter season, nothing is happening to the natural eye, but there's growth downward. And the root system is expanding. That's number one. Spring is for blossoming, and planting.
Right.
Summer is for de-weeding. And you have your first harvest, and then the fall is the second harvest. And each time you adjust. And so just imagine if you gave people permission to evolve like that.
Yeah.
and you're making the adjustment. I
Right.
say you go first.
Right.
Yeah.
You go first. So try to fight winter.
Yeah.
Try to pray about it and ask God to stop winter.
Right.
And then say, I'm not gonna make an adjustment.
Yeah. That is so good.
I'm just keeping on my string bikini.
Yeah.
And I'm going to the beach.
Yep.
You can go.
Yep.
But that winter
It's still
hawk
gonna
is
be
going to beat
cold.
your behind. You're going to be like, calm down. I don't know what's happening to me. Because you haven't reset.
Right.
I rebuke the devil. You know, so we...
That is so good. Oh my
Nature
God.
teaches us
Yeah.
to adjust and to evolve. And so we should do that. We should do that in our business. We should do
Yeah.
that with our relationships. They're seasonal.